Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful day of LCS Challengers Week 7. Last of our regular split before things get absolutely crazy going on forward. And I'm super excited to be back with Genghis and Joshi. Guys, I feel like it's been so long since I've gotten to talk to you two.
You've been avoiding us, Sierra. What's going on? Are we not nice enough to you?
You say it's only been crazy, or like it's about to get crazy. I feel like you've missed so much, Sierra. There's been so many crazy weeks that we've already had, and I don't think this one's likely to be any different.
Speaking of crazy, I'm standing. This is my first time trying to cast where I'm not in my chair. Look at all this movement I can do. This is incredible. You can see the back of my head. I can actually show that off. There's a lot going on.
Still bald.
I'm excited.
That's good stuff. Breaking news, Caster does in fact have legs. Congratulations on that one. But I mean, you say things have been crazy. Like, what's been going on? I've seen a bit of the Discord. There's been 1.5 million roster changes. There's a couple of results where I'm messaging Beatdown and I'm like, what happened in this game?
Here?
Like, huh?
Hello,
like,
Mr. Canada, what happened here?
Yeah, basically, like, fill me in on the deets. What's been going on?
Well, Wildcard have been looking really good for a long time, but Fear recently beat them. So we have this huge fight going up towards the top of the stage.
That was the one I messaged Beatdown about specifically. Yeah. That was crazy.
And then Cloud9 have rocketed into first place, leaving Dignitas, who are sitting in first almost the entire time. They've dropped down to second. It means I'm probably going to have to shave.
Do you know about this bet? Have you heard about this?
So, remind me which way the stakes are going. I know either Joshi has to shave here or Desirx has to shave here. Remind me how this has to go down.
In about week 5 or so, Desirx made a bet against me saying that he claimed that Cloud9 was going to be first in the standings. And I was like, yeah, I'll just take that bet. Didn't really look at what the rest of Dignitas' games were. And yeah, Dignitas will probably still be first. And oh boy, Cloud9 have looked super, super good, whereas Dignitas are running into a hard part of the season. And so Dignitas have dropped a few, and Cloud9 have been looking absolutely stellar.
You're going to look like me, Josh. We're going to match.
Well, I'm not allowed to keep this, is the problem.
Oh, all right.
Unless you also want to shave, then we can do it.
We'll see how CLG does next week.
If another team is at the top of the leaderboard, then do you both have to shave, or how does that go?
Neither shave was the agreement.
And that's actually what I want to highlight of one of the cool things that's happened is Golden Guardians just sleeper rising up through the ranks too. This is a team that we don't often talk about when we look at the top of the standings because they've always been in the 5th, 4th place, but they are just consistently putting out wins, and right now they're in sole possession of 3rd. And there's a chance. I mean, who knows? We still expect Cloud9 or Dignitas to take it at the end of the regular season, but Golden Guardians, they might just win out.
All right. I appreciate customized updates, and of course we do have the regular way of updating at the beginning of our weeks on how things are going, and that is our NA Talent Update. Check it out.
Hello and welcome to another NA Talent Update. Kicking things off, we had the NACL Qs last weekend, and Maryville University actually took the first qualifiers. So, shout out to the school kids. Speaking of, we had a lot of movement between LCS and Challengers last week, so let's send it to Professor Magical to see how he graded the newcomers.
What is it? Can't you see I'm busy?
We had some exchange students submit some last-minute work.
Fine. Thinky, I thought he retired.
Oh, that's Diplex. I mean, look here. Across the 6 games, he's got the 2nd highest damage share in the whole league.
All right, you know what? He gets an A. Spawn, my old student.
Oh, he's actually looked pretty good this past weekend. Struggling a bit in LCS, but now he gets to play with his old teammates, XU and Sanity, who they made to Proving Grounds finals last summer with, actually.
Spawn gets a B+ then. Win some.
Oh, this is a great one. Ever since joining this roster, they've gone 4-0, and it looked like a brand new team.
A+.
He's not actually a doctor. He's just esports certified. And on that topic, certain orgs are certifiably killing it this split. But how well has Rafa been paying attention? Previously.
Hey, Rafa, have you seen how good FlyQuest are doing?
Of course. They're #1 in the league right now, dude.
Not LCS. FlyQuest Challengers. Check this out. With Alo finally here, Winsome's in and can shot call for the team. On top of that, Masu the Wi-Fi wizard is finally in LA, and he's looking incredible.
Hey, Golden Guardians, they're on a hot streak too.
You mean 7-game win streak Golden Guardians?
Come on, man, it's Challengers. Check this out. In the last 3 weeks, Golden Guardians Challengers are 9-3. Their rookie Young has gained a lot of confidence after his LCS appearance, and Prismo and Array are really doing better in their sophomore split.
So, only the top LCS teams have good challengers teams.
Well, Dignitas are in second.
And did you see? XU played in Italy.
But the Challengers teams aren't the only ones impressing us this split, as some of the provisional teams have really stepped up their game. So to commemorate that, we're happy to introduce a brand new product hitting store shelves soon.
Now that's what I call provisional. 6 of NA's hottest new superstars with smash hits like Moose Haters, Carrying on My Wayward Son, There'll Be Justice When You're Done, limit-defying tracks like Minui's, and for a limited time, Playoffs Gamsu. I don't know if it's true, but I'm feeling Gamsu. Get some of the best provisional teams to top the NACL charts. Order today.
Well, that's it for this week's NA Talent Update. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, may your week be filled with positive gaming experiences. I'm feeling Gamsu. I'm feeling Gamsu.
Y'all are some content goats. Where can I pre-order this record? That's all I...
Talk to Deathstrix, man. He's got all the sick bangers.
We did actually have to include at the bottom of the screen not an actual product, just in case anybody wanted to purchase it, because I don't think we are allowed to make money off of those kinds of songs. I think they're like parody laws now.
Hey, I'm just looking for maybe full versions to maybe do in our segments later on. Because I'm looking at you for that one. I'm just saying we have some breaks on the channel sometimes. But no, a lot of interesting things. Week 7 now, and seeing like all these different teams like be able to ramp up getting up to this point, and who's been popping off, especially now that rosters are becoming a little bit more complete or switching up for the better. I mean, it's exciting to see.
Yeah, I also want to bring up something big that we touched on in the NA Talent Update video, where we're talking about how Maryville actually won the last Salt League qualifiers. But today, they actually got upset by the number 22 seed going into these qualifiers. The Super Sunshine Fruit Basket Warriors were able to take them
Not
down.
the Super Sunshine Fruit Warriors.
Fruit Basket Warriors.
Fruit Basket Warriors.
Yeah, the fruit is in a basket. It's not just fruit. There's a difference. It's like getting Sprite from McDonald's. It tastes different.
Okay, that's a whole different one. But I want to check out the standings then to see how kind of things are going along, because as we talked about before, big thing with the standings is it's going to be stuff for eating, and it's exciting to see who's at the top. Dignitas finally not in that first place spot, but Cloud9, that's FlyQuest, still sad to see them at 15 and 11, but hey, they're heating up, okay?
Yeah, I mean, they're heating up right at the right time, right?
Yeah.
The regular season realistically doesn't matter that much in terms of actually like getting these wins, because every single team on this list is going to actually go towards playoffs. The only thing that the regular season does is determine what your seeding in the event will be. And FlyQuest Challengers, realistically, as they are now only one game behind Wildcard, who is perennially one of our top 4 teams going into the regular season, they're now looking to be a team that you really have to take seriously, even looking towards potentially a title.
I want to point our attention to 6th through 9th, because that's what FlyQuest is fighting for. You do not want to be 8th or 9th, because that means you're going to be going up against the other 8th, 9th team in the first round playoffs. If you can push up to that 6th or 7th, where there's that big clump of teams tied, you're now going up against something like Immortals, TSM, AoE maybe in your first round. That's a very different first round in the bracket than if you're in that 8th to 9th place. So FlyQuest, they're really incentivized to pick up all their wins, obviously, but to try and catch up and pass TLC, CLGC, because if they can, that's a much easier road through the bracket.
There's also one other standing spot that I think is going to be really crucial, and that's number 4 versus number 13, which will be one of the first round matchups going into the double elimination. If that were to play today, it would be 100 Thieves Challengers going up against Evil Geniuses Challengers, but we have to remember, EGC, they're still waiting for Star AD Carry King to come over from Oceania, and that will really level them up. And so we will see how many wins actually shake out, because I feel like Cloud9, Dignitas, and currently Golden Guardians, they have a pretty, I don't want to say completely free, but they are heavy favorites going to the first round if we were to use these standings for playoffs.
Or not for King.
Yeah, honestly, though, it's always really cool, though, in my opinion, on the standings to see where provisional teams are at, with Wildcard and especially Fear doing pretty well. And Wildcard, our first match of the day, We have our schedule ahead of us. Should be a really, really fun one to watch. Going up against Team Liquid Challengers. Considering both teams have had their stumbles, but both teams obviously have had fantastic strides. Should be a fantastic match here.
Yeah, they're currently tied in the standings. Same record, 16-10. Both 6-4-3. 6 wins, 4 losses, and 3 draws so far. Team Liquid Challengers have really started to pick it up, whereas Wildcard have been on a bit of a backslide, which I don't know how surprised I am. This is about where I was kind of expecting them to end up, somewhere in the 6-10 range, and they're currently sitting at that tied for 6th spot.
Also, of course, later on in the day, Cloud9 versus CLG. Very excited for this one, as CLG Challengers have been kind of touted from a lot of teams behind the scenes as being very good in scrims. We haven't always seen that translate to the stage games, and we've talked to the players about that. Obviously, that's what they're working on most right now, is getting the consistent performance of the stage, and if they can, that actually turns into a very exciting match, because there's a lot of hype around CLG internally. We've seen the performance from Cloud9 Challengers, so I honestly feel like this could turn into like one of the biggest standings deciding matches, because if CLG pick up a win here, the rest of their schedule is much easier, and they can hold on to that spot in that clump in the middle I was talking about.
And if CLG win a couple of games here, then I might not have to shave.
True! Yeah, Josh is really rooting for CLG.
And of course, to end things off, it'll be AoE going up against FlyFam at this point, and we do want to see what those teams can offer, because as we get later on, I mean, we do have to be worrying about our provisional teams as well as regulations, because they're not locked like our challengers teams. They do need to be fighting constantly for that spot, and those are two teams that definitely need to continue fighting, because at this point just need a little bit more.
True. And Sierra, did you see FlyFam got their 2nd win of the season?
They got 2!
Going up against Immortals. They didn't just beat CLG Faith. They are now 2 wins on the board. And honestly, I have to say, I think AoE is probably a more likely opponent for them to pick up games off of than Immortals Challengers was.
I think they should be more favored in that match for sure. But the first match we have
not favored, but more likely.
Okay, yeah. It's a scale. It's a scale.
We'll get into the scales of all that later, because we do need to be discussing our first game here, which is going to be Wildcard going up against TLC. And Wildcard, I mean, you talked about the fact, Joshi, that this is a team that's, a little bit of a backslide right now, but I still feel like this team is just such a fun, interesting team to watch, with just how they like to approach this game in general.
Yeah, I don't feel like other teams have figured them out per se, but they have become more accustomed to what you're supposed to do going up against Wildcard. 1, make sure that Moose Hater is not on his Garen. 2, they're going to play to scale. If you can play to either smash them early on or match their scaling, Wildcard have this very clear identity that other teams have really started to identify and figure out what to do. But there's still a lot of power left in this team. They're currently number 6 for a reason. And going up against Team Liquid Challengers, I actually feel like they're kind of a stylistic positive matchup here coming up for Wildcard.
It's an interesting kind of approach to the late game from both of these teams. They both have unique ways that they play the game. In particular, with Wildcard, it's about flank angles more so than like pure flangles, more so than front to back traditional League of Legends. They'll also go for long flank angles through Moose Hater in particular, where they like just go on to, he like goes through the dresser to Narnia, comes back through like 5 minutes later, and you forgot that he was even on the map to begin with, and then boom, he does this to you. So Wildcard overall, I think teams are figuring them out. They have picked up most of their losses this split in the last 2 weeks, as they did, of course, just go 0-4 last weekend. Really rough for them. But that doesn't mean that they can't adapt and improve. It does mean that people are starting to solve the Wildcard puzzle, though.
Well, you're talking about the fact that Wildcard is on that little bit of a downtrend, but Team Liquid is the one that I kind of feel like is. Maybe it's because I have such high expectation for these players and this roster overall that maybe I'm looking at this a little harsh. It's definitely better than the 0-4 week that Wildcard had last week, but the 3-3, taking that loss to FlyQuest as well as tying, I believe it was Dignitas, I mean, it kind of looked like in those games there's a little bit of a struggle bus.
Yeah, I mean, Team Liquid Honda Challengers has been a team that I think organizationally, a lot of people were expecting fantastic things coming out from this roster, but when you see the roster they actually went for, this is much more of a developmental roster than I think a lot of people might have been expecting, right? Bradley was expected to do really good. People knew Mir were going to be strong as well, but Arrow was definitely struggling in 2022 and came down a brand new player straight from collegiate, right? There are definitely some bright spots for this team, but the question is going to be, are they going to be likely title contenders? They've been playing a lot of early games, which helps them improve quickly, but they've been like close to 500 most of the season. They've been consistently winning about as many games as they lose.
Picking up wins at the end of the season feels really good, though. The Dignitas one in particular last weekend. I mean, I know that then they lost to FlyQuest Challengers, but now Winsome's in, and Winsome's doing really well over there with FlyQuest. So I think that even splitting the series against Dig, dropping the series of FlyQuest, sure, they can still hold on to a good spot in their positional, in the standings right now, because they are still in that clump where everyone's competing against each other. This would be a really big win for both of these teams to differentiate. Yeah. I will say Wildcard 2-6. I think, 2-6 in their last 2 weekends. So they're up against TLC and then Golden Guardians. If they don't pick up a win in this series, they're not favored against Golden Guardians. They could end on a really big slump going into playoffs, which would feel really bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a couple of tough opponents left coming in for Wildcard. We'll see if they can maintain their spot.
Yeah, especially with the style difference for both of these. It'll be really interesting to see how this plays out and see if TLC, of course, can pass that dreaded wildcard draft test, which is just around the corner. So I'll catch up with you after the game.
Thank you, Sierra. Joshi, we haven't said it yet. This is our first time casting together all year. Let's
Didn't
go.
we literally do it week 1?
What?
I thought we literally cast together week 1. Yeah, we did.
Wait, we did?
Because you complained afterwards that you couldn't remember the last 2 games because you were so tired of casting. Because your very first week 1, you had that was
No,
the
I
first
cast
time
with
I
Beat
think
down week 1.
No, you 100% cast with me because you said thanks for carrying me games 5 and 6.
I don't even remember that, so clearly my memory's having a lot of issues. This split, okay, it's not our first time cast together.
But we're back.
But we're back. All right.
The first,
Well,
we're
I'm
opening
happy
the
to be
season
here
and
with
we're
you.
ending the season. The big thing, Steve, I kind of want to zoom in on is as you're talking about, both these teams are right there in the blob, in the clump with the current tie for 6 and all the teams that are currently there. Whichever one of these teams is able to come out on top, and if one of them can develop a lead against the others, that's going to be huge as we start looking towards these playoff implications. And these teams, I mean, I feel like they're on, as you're kind of calling out, very different curves in what our expectations have been for them. Team Liquid, because of all of their early game focus, have started to figure out a lot more of how to actually go for some of these early dives, whereas Wildcard are still relying on their scaling.
And also, Wildcard, we had low expectation early in the season coming into the year. They outperformed. They were at top of the standings, and now they're slumping at the end. Team Liquid, high expectations at the beginning of the split. They did all right, then they middled out, and now it seems like they might be hitting a surge here at the end in the final week. So, also different trajectories in momentum. Let's catch up in Pick Band, though. They've passed most of the wildcard staple bans here, with Garen and Blitzcrank taken off the table, even taking Senna away from wildcard, while wildcard banned away the Thresh, Jax, and Ashe.
Yeah, Thresh has become a big point of contention on the most recent patch, and it is important to note that Team Liquid currently on the red side. A lot of people have been criticizing teams for opting into playing on the red side against Wildcard, because this guarantees that Team Liquid will get at least one counter pick in either the mid lane or the top lane, and we've seen how crazy things Moose Hater has been doing. You guarantee that Moose Hater will have to blind something, so as the Caitlyn comes through, we have to remember that one place Wildcard plays for the early game isn't their bottom lane, and they're giving Lens one of the strongest AD carries to do so.
Yeah, you can shove in, you can be a lane bully with this pick. Gragas locked in early for TLC. They can flex that one around, and Jinx Hover, that would be pretty exciting to see. But I want to talk about Bradley versus Moose Hater, because we haven't seen this matchup yet. This is a single round robin this spring split, as opposed to most splits where we have double round robins. And so I'm very excited to see Bradley match up against Moose Hater. Moose Hater's been styling on a lot of top laners. This is an opportunity for Bradley to step
let's go.
up. Okay.
And Fiora. Okay, Steve, this is something that Keel has been playing quite a bit this year. And have you watched any of his new games so far?
I have, yes.
Yeah. Have you noticed how he oftentimes doesn't farm and will just roll snowballs between bottom lane and mid lane over and over. I think this is going to be one of the big things that can really shut down a lot of Team Liquid's early game plans, because the way that Team Liquid have played is they will have Mir hang out in the bottom lane almost the entire time. They will 3v3, they will 3v3, they will 3v3 over and over again, and how effectively that goes basically determines a lot of whether or not Team Liquid Challengers will actually win their games. Keel has opted into doing the exact same thing, but it's a lot harder to read where Nunu is going to be going next, especially if this Gragas is likely to go over to Mir.
So they have the flexibility. If they want to put Gragas into Fiora, that might be a rough matchup for them. So I'm expecting Mir to be piloting the Gragas. And then it comes down to what support Wildcard has. Because if it's a 3v3 consistently, that can sway the matchup heavily. TLC might look to ban out some of those supports. Right now, they're banning out a mid laner in Orianna. Jace taken away from Wildcard because nobody's locked in mid laners yet. We do expect those to still be on the table.
True. I mean, I suppose there are some wild things to come through, and the Zyra taking away a lot of the early power from the way that Duo King likes to play. I'm kind of expecting a cow to be coming out from that side of the map. And now, the big thing here is, as we kind of touched upon, neither of these teams really go for a lot of front-to-back team fights, right? Wildcard is a team that relies so much on their flanking tools, and one of the things that I actually really like about the Team Liquid composition right now is that it does kind of opt into that front-to-back, despite Team Liquid's style of going for a lot of heavy flanks. But we see this Lee Sin come out. We've actually seen it about equally in the top lane and the jungle here in Challengers League, and I think this is Bradley's counterpick to Fiora.
Honestly, I could imagine Bradley piloting this one. I don't remember if he played it last year when it had like a patch or two where some people were playing it topside, but it would make sense for what they're going for. Alternatively, I think if they're looking for a strong 3v3, it wouldn't be a terrible jungler either, like if they're trying to just match the heavy ganks of the Nunu.
Yeah. I mean, we will see. It is something that Mir has definitely made a name for himself, especially when he was going by Arthur previously in Oceania. So I would not be surprised if they kind of sacked a little bit of Bradley's lane in order to make sure that they just have a bit more strength across the board. But the last pick coming through is going to be Saligo's Annie, a huge stat check champion. But Wildcard, I mean, they are so focused on their ability to go for picks. They don't have a whole lot of battlefield control in a lot of these upcoming fights unless they're setting up with the Caitlyn. And now, are we gonna do it? It's the boy! It's the boy! APA of the Aurelian Soul! He said he would never play the old version again on the stage, but now this champion is brand new, and this is our first time that we get to see it here in the Challengers League. We've seen it all over the place in LCS already, but APA is a legacy Aurelian Soul player. We'll see if that helps him out today.
I have the Aurelian Soul changes pulled up on my side monitor because I knew that there was a high likelihood of this happening.
Character's good.
I'm good to go. We're good to go. And we've seen this already played even in LCS this last week, so there is a precedent for how strong this pick can be. It's pretty good. I'm actually kind of surprised now, looking back, to see it make it this far through the draft phase.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things about this is it gives Team Liquid a massive scaling opportunity, and they are so good at this front-to-back team fight relative to how they normally play that Team Liquid, if they can opt into that and actually set up these objectives well and enter as a team, Wildcard's engage is really wonky. It's kind of the best way to describe it, right? You have Flash N, you have Keel running directly at you, but all these things are going to be very difficult to do into the Team Liquid composition so far. And so as we get into Game 1, our first game of the last week of the regular season, Wildcard, they're going for some of the normal shenaniganeries.
Level
always loves
1, 4 champs from each team up here. APA still hanging out mid. Now Wildcard have all 5. If they approach, they do have a champ advantage right now.
They also have a broad. Oh no, it's a disaster!
No. Team Liquid are walking right into it. The anti-stun onto everybody. And it's disaster for TL. That's one down. Mir flashes. I think he's still dead. A little bit more. One more auto. He's got the shield. Bradley has to flash away too. So 2 flashes down. A kill picked up. Disastrous start for Team Liquid.
That is ridiculous. I think multiple people are going to be late to lane as well. This is horrible coming out from Team Liquid, and a huge win coming out for Wildcard. We were saying that Wildcard, the only place they tend to play aggressively on the map is through their bottom lane, and Lens is walking to lane with an extra longsword here, Steve. It's going to be so hard for Arrow and Kim Down to actually survive from this early laning phase, because you know Keel's going to be hanging out down there.
And Arrow also used the cleanse, so even more at risk of just straight up dying in this 2v2. So yeah, I mean, hey, it looked like Team Liquid were winning the fan vote for a little bit there. Let's see if they can hold that hope high. But let us know what you think by tweeting at hashtag NACL on Twitter if you want to join in on the conversation. Get some of your tweets up here on the stream. I want to go back to what the read was from Wildcard there as we see the junglers start their early paths. The fact that we've seen teams try and punish Moose Hater level 1 consistently, like that's kind of been a trend at this point. That's how a lot of the wins have come through for teams beating Wildcard. Yeah. I think it's a smart read from Wildcard to say, hey, I likely a team like would try and do that again.
I mean, honestly, the fact that it was just a huge read that had all 5 members, and then Team Liquid chose to try and look for Moose Hater in the bush. Massive, massive advantage going over to Wildcard. And again, as you said, just a great read on what it is that Team Liquid have been trying to do. They've been playing so many of these early game strats, and if they feel like they have a good read, then they can just go for plays like that over and over again. Unfortunately, this time, they end up getting caught out, and so you see Keel, I think he's going for his first gank here on APA.
Yeah, APA has flash, might need to use it here. The snowball's got a really big hitbox. Actually, just flies away. Okay, you know, the changes to, here, let me, Astral Flight. That's the new name for it. Eldra had it up on the side. Actually, pretty good to get away from ganks.
Yeah, it honestly makes it very hard for Keel to go for some of these big ganks, but remember, we got to talk a little bit about how Aurelion Sol actually works. The biggest way for you to actually start getting some of that Stardust and get the crazy scaling is you throw down that black hole, you start gathering Stardust from anything that dies inside of it. You only get 1 per minion, but hey, you stack them up quite a bit over time. The other way is you just see him breathing down Saligo's neck. That's another big way for APA to start gathering up that Stardust and get those really long range abilities, the really large ultimates. So APA already doing a decent job having survived some of the early game.
Especially against an Annie and a Nunu combo. Gank bot lane. Mirror's coming down here. Stun onto Duo King. Walks around the traps and gets out just fine.
Yeah, nice dodge coming out from Duo King, returning about as much as they got. And so Mirror is spending a little bit of time down here for nothing, but also pay attention to the fact that Mirror now backing away. He's often been one of these players that have ganked the bottom side over and over again, and it does create a very difficult position for a lot of opposing bottom lanes. But Mirror looking to spend a lot more time towards the top side. He's oftentimes gone for 2 ganks at this point in the game already.
Yeah, and he's passing top right now. Bradley and Moose Hater trading against each other. I'm looking at Keel on the map. Yeah, thank you, observers, for highlighting this. He's just kind of chilling here right now. As red buff, are they going to go behind the turret? Come on, Keel. Yes, the dive under turret. Saligo starts tanking first. Good flash from APA, though. He survives. Wait a minute. He canceled the flight. Interesting.
But still, getting that flash out, right? APA does not have a whole lot of tools. He has to back really far back, and so he's going to lose a couple of minions even with the teleport coming through, and that gives Keel the time on the map needed to start going for more crazy plays. Just going to be picking up a little bit of damage here. They will grab the Scuttle Crab, but so far, I mean, I feel like Keel has done a better job at controlling some of these plays from the mid lane and helping Saligo start to get a little bit more of a stop towards APA scaling.
Yeah, it hasn't necessarily been chain ganks, but he's very active still, and he's influencing the map, not falling behind in CS, which is also very impressive. He's actually maintained his clear speed against Mir on the Lee Sin. So we're entering into a game state now where really the only big difference is still that first blood.
Still the first blood, and it is going to matter quite a bit as, wow, APA goes so aggressive.
This is a lot of damage. He's only level 5, will not have the ultimate, but he did win that trade. Sligo now has a stun back up, but pretty low on mana to start off. I mean, you just teleported back to lane, and you're already chunked like this.
Yeah. You just have to be very careful of pushing up this aggressively, right? Because Keel is known to go for snowballs between lanes over and over again, and Mir still hasn't found a whole lot of purchase into this game just quite yet. And so, as we start paying attention a little bit more, as we start getting a little bit further into the game, Sligo has ultimate, and instantly APA has to Astral Flight away.
Yeah, Sligo has the flash ult. He's just going to go in. Nice from APA to bait him as Kim Dan and Mir are here. Sligo will probably have to flash. Actually has the shield and does get out just fine. APA was trying to get Sligo to stick around a little bit longer because Sligo didn't quite have the full burst, but they cannot pull off the gank. Oh,
Heal?
Heal might. Oh!
I thought that was a flash. It was just a double.
Kind of looked like a flash too. Yeah,
looked like a flash.
He just jumped in.
I was like, there's no way Mir just flashed out. But here's the ultimate from Moose Hater.
All right, going for the 1v1. Bradley has the explosive cask. Doesn't need to use it. He just walks away.
Yeah. I mean, oh, okay. So Moose Hater is riposte was down. But that said, it is so easy to repost Gragas' ultimate because Gragas will freeze in place in order to do it. So it is something that is a very easy read from Moosehater, but this is going to be the first Dragon going over towards Wildcard, and they're setting themselves up to actually be in a very strong position. The one thing they need to be careful of is everybody getting out here, and everybody is already disengaged already. So this is looking quite good coming out from Wildcard, especially considering that this is a matchup stylistically where I was saying I think they're going to be favored. One of the things that we saw from Bradley, especially in 2022, was he was oftentimes getting marked and not super great at marking flankers. I know who's probably the most important flanker in the entire league? It's
Let me guess. Moosehater.
Moosehater, wow.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of very unique flanks. Fiora is not necessarily one of those champions that's like
I mean, he does
famous for that, but you still could pull it off.
I mean, the number of times that we see Moosehater go for these big flanks anyway on things like the Fiora is kind of wild. And as we've kind of explored a little bit so far, King, is Soligo is so good at marking out enemy flankers. It is so good at preventing enemy flankers from actually getting involved in the fight. And so it's going to be very, very tough for Bradley to try and go for some of these big flanks, or for Mir. And they really kind of force them into a bit of a front-to-back, which is good for Team Liquid. But still, it's not a style that Team Liquid have been known for so far this split.
And I am... Oh, okay. And we'll get back to that point as here's the Tibbers plus knock-up. APA in a load of hurt right now as Wildcard try and dive under the turret. Not successfully. APA does get out.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't see any of what happened after the Tibbers.
My screen did freeze as well.
Okay.
Me.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised that APA was alive there, but it is still going to be forcing APA out of the lane once again, making it harder for him to stack up, and it also buys a lot of time for Wildcard to start looking at this Rift Herald. It's very hard to get Keel off an objective, and look at where Duoking already is.
Yeah, we have the support roaming up. Moosehater's pushing Bradley off. This Herald should belong to Wildcard, but actually Moosehater goes too far forward. Mir's in that brush too. Riposte is used. Grand Challenge issued. Will not get the full proc. So Moosehater runs away. Now Bradley and Mir can actually reapproach. They dive bot lane too. Yeah, I'm looking at Lens here. Kim Down doesn't have level 6, so they can't just hard force it, but he can just walk up and auto attack there. Misses the hook, into the wall. Kim Down takes a couple of turret shots, aces the hole! Lens with the outplay, but Arrow might just get one more. Flash down, heal available. Lens trying to bait Arrow in. Okay, heal finally used.
It was a tough dive, man, and they were not able to lock him down. Lens turns that play around, finds another kill. Even though Wildcard don't get the Rift Herald, this is a huge win coming out for Wildcard. This was supposed to be the kind of thing where Team Liquid can go for the counterplay, but watch the way that they go for this, right? They try and get the combination down, but Arrow too slow on the traps. Lens is able to get out, and Kim Down, because he hooks himself under the wall, just takes too many turret shots. I mean, I've been fairly critical so far of this Team Liquid bottom lane, but that's one of those things that you can't be messing up.
Yeah, you got to do one of two things. Either drop the traps earlier, or you don't try and sneak the W auto in as Nautilus. Because you get the auto attack reset, you could just auto Q, and then you guarantee that lands. But once you hook the wall, you're dead. Yeah. So now back to current game state. The Herald is still not taken. It started up again by Keel, who then walks away. Kim Down's here. We might just get a scrap for this.
Yeah, he does have access to the ultimate, and they do see that Wildcard is starting it up. Everybody on both teams is on the way. Lens is already here first, and it's a little bit hard for them to actually try and break this hold. And now Moosehater gets a free flank.
Okay, but we have a pincer coming in. Moosehater's not with them right now. I didn't see who got the smite on the Herald, but we have a fight breaking out. A lot of burst damage onto Team Liquid. Lens getting it down, and Soligo setting it up. Mir will get away, but everybody else... Oh, never mind. Kills there. He actually catches Mir on the retreat. Arrow will clean up one in return. It's actually a couple traded back as in the pit. Team Liquid grabbed a couple more. End of the day, not too bad for Team Liquid.
Not bad for Team Liquid, but it's still going to be a win coming out for Wildcard, right? They're the ones who walk away with the Rift Herald. It was them who were able to get the smite down, but the big thing that's worrying about this is, yes, Team Liquid have a flank, but the flanks are weird, right? On the one side, you have your front-to-back damage dealers trying to be part of this fight. On the other hand, you have all of your front line, and so Arrow kind of struggles to hit for a large part of this. APA has to use the Astral Flight early as one of the ways that he controls one side of the battlefield. That's a lot of the mobility used early on in order to try and find some of this fight. And Yeah, Team Liquid end up trading 3 for 3. That's one of those things where you need to be more cognizant of your setups coming in for Team Liquid. Otherwise, those fights are going to continue going wrong as Wildcard can pull the trigger.
If you clump up like that against Saligo, who's got Flash, Tibber, Stun, yeah, you're going to be in a rough spot. I mean, it was big that Arrow didn't get hit by that, so then he can actually turn around the play. But now we got another play, potentially at this Dragon. So now it's about setting up for this one. Team Liquid have the first approach.
But
it looks,
Steve,
yeah?
Team Liquid already have a Dragon.
Oh, because Aurelion Soul. It really took me. I was like, no, their mascot's a horse? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't understand, but now Team Liquid, it is going to be Wildcard who pull it originally, but it looks like they might be second-guessing themselves, and Team Liquid actually, I mean, it was pulled over the vision. Team Liquid not able to move for it whatsoever, and Wildcard, they're finding another advantage earlier on in the game. This is typically what we were kind of expecting from Team Liquid, but it's Wildcard that are coming out ahead so far. The one thing that Team Liquid is really going to have to start thinking about, though, is how they fight for Dragons 3 and 4 as APA goes, wow.
Oh, that's... Whew, wow. Oh, it's just disgusting. In late game, long side lane plays like that, Saligo's got to be very careful because you could just get chased down by the Dragon pretty much indefinitely. The Herald's drop bot now. Wildcard are approaching. Him down looked for the engage. Hits only the Herald, so the charge will come through. Arrow was in a rough spot there, but does get away from the traps. And just a couple of turret plate gold picked up for Wildcard.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we have to look at how strong Lens is. Akil going for the wraparound.
Okay. Ooh. Timed out a little bit. Now Mir says, hey, there's no snowball up. Do I go for it? Nah, I'm just playing around.
It's tough. It's so easy for Duo King to throw out the Glacial Fissure as soon as he sees Mir start flying through the air that he's unlikely to even get in order to start looking for those insects. Doesn't have to flash either. So definitely a bit of a harder opportunity as APA goes.
Ultimate dropped down. Wow. Tibbers responded, but Mir's there to pick up the kill.
APA, I mean, he's a legacy Aurelion Soul player, but this is a brand new champion, finds some gold for himself. We have seen some games where APA goes absolutely nuts, right? The Cassiopeia game that they had last week where they were solo killing almost everybody, absolutely destroying EG. Now he's got a kill, he's got 3 assists, and he's starting to build up some Aurelion Soul dollars.
He's got a lot stacked up right now, and also now just picks up the Rod of Ages. Let's get another look at that. As, of course, the Aurelion Soul is the one that starts it off. Saligo's in a pretty safe spot here, too. Like, usually you're fine to position there in lane.
I mean, you would think, but the big thing is that Saligo doesn't have access to a stun, can't prevent the new Breath of Light from actually just ripping apart your own health bar because you can't stop it. You don't have access to anything like that, and a great read from APA. And now we'll see what else they can start doing with it. They have kept themselves within reach of the rest of the game. But as we were calling out, Steve, it's going to be this next Dragon. We will really need to see Team Liquid start looking for some of these opportunities because Jinx on one item and with such a strong front line from the rest of the team can really do a lot of work. So we'll look at Arrow when we start getting to the next Dragon fight.
I really hope that Team Liquid have practiced this kind of composition before because we've highlighted the front-to-back potential. But I am also worried with Team Liquid's, tendency to go a little deep for plays. When you have things like the Asol and the Lee Sin, even the Gragas to an extent, sometimes I'm worried that they're just going to run away from Arrow and be like, all right, I'm the hero. I'm going to go in and make the play happen. And then now your Jinx is alone, maybe has an Nautilus next to her. But that's not a ton of protection from a Fiora just jumping straight onto her. So I want Team Liquid to approach this with that same mentality of, hey, front to back, let's keep Arrow alive.
Bradley.
Okay, is he in a 1v1 right now? Moose Hater's not going to issue the challenge. We'll just take the turret instead.
Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised that Moose Hater didn't commit to that, but they don't have enough information on where people are. Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Okay. Grand challenge is issued. Ghost popped. He's chasing down Bradley, who has the explosive cask, is not throwing it out yet. Uses it defensively as Moose Hater jumps forward, gets the slow. One more proc. Oh, he can't get it. It was facing due north, and Bradley positioned appropriately.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Wildcard, they're looking for a flash.
Flash, stun, immediate cleanse from Arrow, but Kim Down does not have that luxury, so he falls. APA trying to get some damage traded back in. But Wildcard, they pick up their kill.
They're the ones going for a lot of these aggressive plays, and Team Liquid, they don't seem to be ready to actually deal with it. Kim Down, unfortunately, goes down yet again. With only a minute coming up for this next Dragon, that's going to be a lot of summoner spells that Team Liquid are actually missing, right? We'll see how this actually starts out. And it's kind of a dive, and so we do see Keel taking some damage, but he's got the Radiant Virtue, he's got the shield on his ult. It's very hard for him to actually die, and when the turret's gone, and the slow field is already here, and a teleport coming through, oh yes, Liga just runs these guys down with the speed from his shield, the flash, and as they already get that, I mean, that is going to be Arrow's cleanse that is going to be missing. He has to position so far back, and that's not something Arrow does.
Yeah, and he also used Flash earlier in the play, so that means no sums for the next objective fights here. I think it's wise for TL to say, let's not even fight for it. They can just give over this Herald right now. Dragon's up in 30 seconds. Maybe they can try and just delay that, prevent Wildcard from approaching, since they currently control the choke point. And actually, as they say that, they did go in. Bradley's looking for Keel. Explosive Cast gets Flash out of Nunu.
I mean, good job getting the flash and denying the actual eye of the Herald, but still, it's resources being expended before this upcoming Dragon fight. And Team Liquid looks like they are opting not to actually go for any kind of contest here, and it will make it very, very hard for Team Liquid to start looking at upcoming fights, right? Giving over this Mountain Dragon is potentially one of the most valuable dragons in the game. Will give Wildcard a lot more power, not just in these upcoming team fights, but also in the side lanes, right? Moose Hater getting that extra armor and MR is so much more difficult, and now they're coming into fight, but look at where Arrow is.
Yeah, Team Liquid are actually looking to contest this. Moose Hater's got the flank. We know Wildcard looks for these types of plays. Okay, I think Team Liquid were just spotting, just walking up to try and get a ward down so the Arrow could steal. They don't actually contest. Now Keel's going for the re-engage. Wildcard even catch out APA slightly here. Gets over the wall, still watching Moose Hater's flank. He's still looking for it. Keel frontlining for Wildcard. Starts the Nunu ultimate. It's charging up. There's a lot of burst damage, and Moose Hater gets the flank off. Team Liquid just forgot about him. Double kill to Lens as Kim Down will surely fall. Saligo picking up that one. Bradley and Arrow the only ones to get away.
I'm going to be honest, Team Liquid needs to unmute their Discord. That was bad. The way that Arrow was continuing to hit the entire time, they were opting into a 4v5. They completely forgot about Moose Hater again, and Wildcard, this is how they make their wins happen. They always just have Moose Hater off on his side. He comes in from a flank, and there was nobody left to actually mark him because of how confused this was. Right? I'm not sure what the plan is here. This is playing exactly the way that Wildcard wants to play. They want to pick off individual members. They're waiting for Moose Hater to have an opportunity, and yes, Arrow finally kills the turret, and they start coming over for this fight, but by the time Arrow's actually in the fight, his excitement is already gone. They've already lost a member. APA misses the flash, and, I mean, Moose Hater's found a flank. This is the kind of thing where we were asking, will Team Liquid be able to kind of play this front to back, and based off of that, it's not looking great.
What did I say earlier? I said they have a tendency to go too far forward. I think Team Liquid's actually fine in that position if they don't walk in to Wildcard's jungle river control. Like, Wildcard had the setup by the dragon side of the map. If TL just stayed mid lane and then path to top after getting the turret, I think that's all right. But they get baited to go a little further forward, and that's why Moose Hater got the flank.
That's one of the problems that we were looking at with FlyQuest challenges earlier before Winsome joined, and something that we know Team Liquid does better than that. And so, again, I kind of want to go back to praising Wildcard. This is something that they have set up so often. They will set up really well for fights when they have the tools to do it. When you have the Caitlyn traps, it makes it very hard for Team Liquid to walk in, and they still do a really good job. Moose Hater moves between the side lane and the fight more cleanly than almost any other top laner in the league, as he constantly looks for all these poking and prodding angles. Team Liquid forgot about it, they get punished for it, and now with this nearly 5,000, almost 6,000 gold lead that Wildcard have already built up for themselves, the scaling aspects of Team Liquid, they're going to take a long time to actually come online, and Wildcard, that can actually start realistically looking at this Baron relatively quickly. Keel heals off of it, and you have Tibbers to tank.
Wildcard in a very comfortable position as they look to correct their shove in the top lane. Get that in. Everyone's positioning around it, but with the Lens backing, I think Bloodthirster should be on the table now. They probably won't start up the Baron yet. They do want their AD carry there for that, but that is a 2-item Caitlyn at 20 minutes, 45 seconds into the game. And a reminder that this is such a big match for Wildcard, who are in a slump right now. I know last week we were going into it like, they split their series the previous weekend, even though they have taken mostly 2-0s. Then they went 0-4. And you don't want that kind of, momentum going into the playoffs. It would be much better to take Team Liquid's spot here, because then you're going up against something like Immortals AoE in your first round. And we talked about the importance of that already, so I'm liking that Wildcard are finding a bit of a surge here.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how Wildcard plays this out a little bit more, because I feel like when you start going on a losing streak, you kind of forget how to win sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's one of these big things that can oftentimes happen in Wildcard. If they find a win here, they absolutely break some of the issues that they were having before. And doing up against Team Liquid, who have also kind of been surging, would be a big confidence boost. But Team Liquid, now they need to be very careful. They need to devote a lot of members towards this top side in order to, one, try and get this turret down, but also just to try and defend the Baron. Wildcard, I mean, they've been trying to create a lot of pressure around this, and they also have crazy pick tools that they can go for isolated members with.
I will say Team Liquid seem to be playing much more respectfully now. You see there, Arrow not walking up to the waves, instead using the W, the zap, to clear out the final minion, and then just running away. Keel was close, and if you ever overstep against Keel's Nunu, you can get punished, especially when Saligo has flash to follow up. So if Team Liquid can play respectfully, I think that that'll keep him in it. I'm just wondering, like, how is TL supposed to play out this game from this point forward? Like, what realistically is your win condition? Just hope that eventually you have enough items on Jinx, Aurelia, and Soul that, you know, the goal differential doesn't matter?
I mean, realistically, if you can get APA enough money and enough Aurelian Soul Box, then you can outrange and kill basically everybody. Your ultimate does such a large AoE knockup and so much damage, but you can't afford to be doing things like that, right? It needs to be a situation where you get your front to back going, and you know where Moose Hater is at the same time.
What was Arrow doing there?
This was my big criticism of him last year. He does this a lot.
There's a wave bot lane. I imagine that Bradley should have just given him the farm, but you know what? It's all right. We'll get past that because currently live, APA is grouping up with the team. They will not have flash
Look at Moose
on
Hater
for this fight now, and Moose Hater's stuck around bot lane. He's got another flank angle. Watch for Saligo. Saligo's the big engage tool. Take the blast cone, flash forward. Arrow's positioning so safely right now, trying to stay away from the threats and doing so well, but APA has got a Moose Hater on top of him. Everybody else peels back, but that means Arrow's got no defense, and the fight falls apart for Team Liquid. Wildcard are ripping them at the seams, and Kim Down will be chased down. Mir the only one left alive. Team Liquid hard punished for their setup, and Wildcard will do this every late game fight. They will piece by piece disassemble you.
Oh my god, I've been saying that a lot of teams just need to figure out how to mark Moose Hater, but the way he played that flank might have been the best flank I've seen this entire year on any team. I really want to go take a look at the replay, because as Moose Hater was here, he hid in the bush, he uses a lunge over the wall, and then he waits for the wave to go by before he gets into here. Nobody knows where Moose Hater is until he is on top of APA, gets all 4 parts of the Grand Challenge down instantly, even though it takes him forever to actually get the damage down to kill the Space Dragon. It's still a situation where, because of how much distraction he's created, how many different people have to pull back to deal with him, there is no chance for Team Liquid to go for that, and that was one of the coolest and best flanks I've seen in a long time.
Something I don't think we give Moose Hater enough credit for is how much patience he can have on these big flanks, on these big plays, because, yeah, I mean, he waits around, gets over the wall, like you said, he waits for the wave to go past. By that point, Team Liquid's like, well, we see our wave on their turret. There's no way they're going to flank us from below, right? Like, you think that you're safe because you have vision, but the patience that he exhibited there gets him the flank angle.
Huge stuff. Huge props to Moose Hater for that last play, and I think that's going to be the thing that breaks the camel's back, right? At this point, Wildcard have total control over all parts of the map. The side lane, 100% going in favor of Wildcard. The scaling doesn't matter.
From APA.
The scaling doesn't feel like it matters anymore coming out from Team Liquid, because they are so far behind. The Mountain Soul makes up for a ton of a scaling deficit you would normally have, and now Team Liquid, they gotta try and go go for broke. This is
engage onto Lens. Explosive cast is used, but the team's not close enough to follow up. The cast did not get Lens close enough, and now Bradley doesn't have a lot of help as Keel has re-engaged. Saligo gets Kim down, support down, and all the engage from Team Liquid is spent. They do not have the Gragas ultimate nor their Nautilus. This fight's already doomed now.
Yeah, I mean, respect for trying. But Wildcard, like, they didn't even feel ready for it. The teleports came out in time. That was something Team Liquid needed to try, and now, I mean, we just get to see they're just down a member trying to defend their own base.
APA does have a lot of range to work with now, but with Baron-powered minions, they just don't have a lot of wave clear. Wildcard break the first inhibitor turret. The wave has been mostly cleared now as Arrow's rockets are doing some work here. Wildcard's walking up. Keel throws out another snowball. And Liquid so far have held the bottom turret. They will have supers pushing mid.
I mean, they've held the bottom turret for now. There's still almost a full minute. That's going to be about a wave at the very least for Wildcard to play with, and instead going to be sending Moose Hater up towards the top side as everybody goes in for a recall. Moose Hater should reward himself with some pretty good damage on the second turret, but no, they go for a little bit of a bait, allow Team Liquid to kind of move around, and now they come back in. This is the last wave they will have with the Baron. They're just making sure that they can buy time for Moose Hater up on the other side of the map where nobody can actually match them. So far, I mean, Steve, we gotta face it. Wildcard have just outplayed Team Liquid from minute 1 of this game. At the very beginning, we have to remember that members of Team Liquid walked in to Wildcard, disaster struck. They give a kill over to Lens. He's currently the most fed member in the game, and while he hasn't done himself anything super oppressive, and we have to give Moose Hater a lot of credit, the fact that Lens is strong allows Moose Hater to be more aggressive with these flanks because he knows the rest of his team has the DPS that they can do.
And something that I know Cubby's referenced a lot with Wildcard is that they draft not necessarily for like a specific comp style, but more how their champions interact with the opponent's champions. It's a very unique take to draft that not every team exhibits. But we're seeing beyond that, and like in his words, that's how they've gotten a lot of their wins, right? Counter picks. But we also are now seeing strategy, like really, really top strategy come in and pick up wins through scouting that clearly they've already put in the work for. That, hey, we expect what Team Liquid's going to do at their level 1. We have an idea of where Mirror's going to be passing and how Keel can answer. And now it's some emote spam too, so Wildcard giving us everything we could want.
Lens has a shield of about 1,000 coming out, right? That is one tanky-ass Caitlyn. Is all I got to say about it, right? It's going to be so hard to kill this guy. He's got a bunch of lifesteal. He's got a lot of tools to help him out, and now as we see the full court press coming out from Wildcard, I mean, Team Liquid, they need to go for an engage. The last one was a bit of a disaster, but they got to try again here coming up very soon. And as they lose more and more control of their vision, you never know what walls League is about to flash over.
I love the fact that Moose Hater went the Hole Breaker, or sorry, I'm blanking on the name right now. I said that right. Hole Breaker.
Yeah. Oh, here's a flank.
Oh, Bradley got the TPN. Gets onto the backline. Lens flashes just in time and survives it. Now their frontliner's in trouble, though. Duo King is picked off. Soligo with the flash engage from Tibbers. As Moose Hater is just wrecking the base. They left him alone with the Hole Breaker, and he can just split push for the victory. Moose Hater on his own while Team Liquid engage. Oh, he's not going to have enough, though. One more auto. He's down. Keel's here. Can the Nunu finish the game? I mean, they just need to walk Lens in, right?
Lens can.
Yeah, they don't even need to focus the Nexus. Team Liquid are down. Wildcard played a clean game to this point, and they will take game number 1.
Dang, Wildcard, that was an emphatic statement in this game from minute 1. They read what Team Liquid was going to do. They prevented Mir from having any kind of impact on this Lee Sin, and the way that they went for these setups, and again, Moose Hater's flanks, I don't know if I've seen flanks better than that in at least a year, right? Moose Hater is so inventive, and it's one of the things that he has got so many of Wildcard's wins for, but that's only game 1, Steve. We'll see if Team Liquid can bounce back.
Inventiveness, creativity, patience exhibited from Wildcard in game 1's win. We're going to send it to a short break while we give players time to rest and get ready for game 2. We'll be back after this for a halftime show.